Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our November 2022 agenda briefing. Glad to see you all here. And looks like everybody's healthy, so good thing. Appreciate your participation and attendance. We'll go ahead and get our meeting started. I will go ahead and call the meeting to order and ask council if there is any additions to tonight's agenda. Staff, Ron, any additions you all have?
No, sir.
If not, I'll ask for a motion to accept the agenda as presented.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Either one of the Harrises. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing none, motion passes. We will follow along our agenda. We'll start with comments from council. I will start to my right, Ms. Harris.
So, we attended the, probably more people are going to talk about this, but the Duke Energy breakfast a few weeks ago, maybe last week. And really enjoyed that, learned a lot of information from the Duke Energy folks. I have a new appreciation for power lines now, so I'm looking at them differently now. But also, I just wanted to mention that for our school, football season is over. Congratulations on them for making it to the first round. Didn't come out favorable, but I hope that our town rallies around them for basketball as we did for football. I have received lots of calls and emails and messages about the traffic light at Tally. People are glad to see that traffic light there, so I'm just glad to see that light going up there. And last thing, I'm looking forward to the Christmas parade coming up, one of my favorite times of the year. And it looks like I see the wreath outside, so it looks like we're getting ready here as well. So I'm sure there's more decorations. I just missed all the rest of them, but just glad Christmas time. That's it. I may have other things, but I may have forgotten some of them.
Mr. Archer?
Yes, just a couple things. Yeah, again, congratulations on the South football team making it into the playoffs, and I'd like to have some more information on basketball season, considering I live so close. So but I know my kids had a great time going to the football game, so I'm sure that'll carry right over to basketball. I was not here for Halloween. I heard it was a pretty big success, depending on which neighborhood you live in. I did hear that I know that the town function that we put on Trails and Treats was highly attended based off the secondary amount of trick-or-treaters we had in our neighborhood. But I was not here. I was actually in D.C. I would like to formally congratulate my wife on completing the Marine Corps Marathon. 30,000 runners showed up. Only 11,000 finished. She was able to raise some money for the Semper Fi Fund, so I would like to take my time to toot the horn there. But again, hate I missed the Halloween festivities here back home. But I will say it was good to be in D.C. To do the stereotypical field trip, go see all the monuments, go to the Smithsonian, but to see to see all of these monuments to our republic here on the eve of an election was really meant something to me. It really felt good. So encourage everybody to get out tomorrow if you haven't already, and vote. And that will be all for me.
Great. Start with Mr. Now.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to thank the staff and the people involved with the Trails and Treats. It was a great success, and thanks for all the people that came out and supported it. But again, our staff and the people involved with running it did a terrific job. And with Thanksgiving coming up, and I'd just like to wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving and enjoy the festivities. Thank you.
Mr. Harris.
Yeah, just a couple of things. Again, the Trails and Treats, it was, I walked through there and all the vendors, the people gave out candy. It was, that's a good tribute to Emily, that they came out even though it was raining. After 3 o'clock, still raining, it quits. They all got, I think she maybe 10 to 12 didn't make it out there that was playing, so. And they ended up in the mud while the kids got to walk to the sidewalk, getting down through there. But everybody was in a really good mood that I saw out there. It was really, I thanked a lot for coming around. I thought it was good for them to do that. It was good after 2 years. Everybody's really glad to see it. The other thing, if you didn't see it, a week ago Friday, we'll plug up one of our businesses. They're not in town, I don't think, JMS Roofing. But that planning building over there, we got ready to go to Duke Power thing. And they were just showing up at the job site. When we came back, you could look all the way through from one side of the house to the other on the roofing. And then they took all the sheeting, everything off of 5 layers of roofing. And the bottom being cedar shaking. And then by that evening, they had it all re-plywooded and they had the tarp on it. And then Saturday afternoon, they completed it. So that was a heck of a and all the time, Lynn and Andrew were inside working. I was like, I couldn't believe they were in there. Man, there's only like ceiling holes. But they took 2 sections of chimney down too. They took it down below the roof. So that company came in here and they did a good job. Of course, all the other work's still going on over there. And then in the meantime, Duck had a group out there, I guess it was McCoy, was the other business plug, cutting trees. They got them over at the house that they're renting there, the 3rd house over, but they cut them out of the other yard at the 2nd house, Ellis House, and we're doing all kind of stuff. I mean, it was a busy, busy day, and then plus the crew doing the pavement out there on the other streets getting paid. So it was like really, we rode around, of course, if you're on a kind of life-threatening experience riding with Duck in that golf cart, we cut down over the hills and up and around, and showed me that where these trees had to go out, and I was like, I can see them from a distance. I don't need to go. Anyhow, that was 3 businesses that came in this town and did a great job, I think. It's been over the last few days, and you keep seeing more of them doing. And the other thing is that the work out at the park. I don't know if all of you have seen this. If they've changed out the garbage cans where they had problems with smell and ants and everything over there by the pavilion. And now they got a place, a dumpster down at the other end, and it's caged in, and they're changing out their whole system how to do the garbage, so we don't have garbage piling up out there. So that's a big improvement out in the park, and I think people enjoy it. And that's all I want to add.
Thank you. Mr. Hinkle?
Well, I'm not going to repeat kudos to what's already been said. I'm going to be repetitive, but I will say that George and I had the opportunity to spend better half of an afternoon driving around town, perimeters, seeing what all is going on. And there's a lot going on, folks, a lot going on. We have people coming in. The town is growing. We also covered ground on some things that have been proposed. Businesses as well as continuation of some subdivisions. The town is a healthy situation. We're attractive. Some folks say don't like what's going on, I'm gonna move out. Well, for every one that leaves, I dare say there's 3 or 4 waiting to take your place. So I hate to see anybody leave, don't want anybody to leave, but we certainly are attracted to somebody. So we are growing, and as I said, and there's no reason that the services that we've been looking for, the small retail outlets like the white cloth restaurants, the hardware stores, just small things, businesses to come to Troutman so that we don't have to drive to Statesville, Mooresville to buy a screwdriver or to sit down and have a nice meal with your spouse or a friend or neighbor, what have you. So we're in good positions to continue growing. I hate that we're looking at possibly a business slowdown, but I hope that before that takes effect, that we do see some fruition of some of these things I'm talking about. And if not, then business slowdown is a short one, and that the nation will recoup very quickly, economically speaking. And some of the things I just mentioned will come to Troutman and make people proud. Understand the road network, we all have to drive on it. It's very clear to all of us, and we continue to talk to Raleigh and let them know of our unhappiness, and they know it. But as I've said, we cannot wrap our town's future around one agency in Raleigh that seems to have a problem moving forward. You know, we have to continue to be a vital town to our citizens and to the businesses that locate here. I'm happy. I'm in a good mood. Again, is what's going on, and I invite anyone else perhaps to do the same thing. Just to drive around, just go from one end of the town, north, south, east, west, and just see that all that's happening. And on the one hand, again, I know that some people won't be too happy with that, but again, it represents a town that is very attractive to a lot of people, and businesses, as you can tell, the businesses that are coming. And I hope to further come. So, let it go, sir.
Thank you. Thank you all. Again, not to, as Mr. Hinkle said, to be repetitive. Again, appreciate all the work staff has done over the last month. A lot of the beautification, it looks good. So again, Mr. Wyatt, please send your regards to the staff. I've had folks call and just say thank you for cleaning up certain areas and making things look presentable for our town. So again, really appreciate that, and all the work that Mr. Harris mentioned hasn't gone unnoticed by our citizens, and so again, we appreciate that. I do want to mention maybe something that wasn't said. It did go for early voting over at the library. They made it very easy. The library looks good. Spent probably more time in there than they probably wanted me to, but it was nice to see how they've kind of changed things around a little bit. As our library manager mentioned at her last update, but I think the flow went well, and a lot of folks that were flowing in, I think felt like it was easy to do that. Encourage folks who haven't, who didn't get to go for early voting to please come out tomorrow and allow your voice to be heard at the ballot box. For council, I did have a chance to participate in a North Carolina League of Municipalities meeting as we were planning for the upcoming legislative session. There are a number of topics that towns and municipalities around the state are asking the league to help represent. There will be more information coming on that as the proposed topics are agreed upon. They're not yet, but they were in discussion, and so we'll be sharing those as we get closer to finalizing those proposals. I was asked to join the board of the league, and so not that I have anything else to do, but I will help represent the town and our region on the league's board. I think that's all I have at this point, and again, appreciate all the hard work that the staff has done over the last month.
Let me just say, Mayor, thank you for joining that board. I know we'll be represented well, and I know you've got a lot on your plate, and this is just, I know we're going to call it overflow, but thank you for dedicating your time for that.
Well, and I would say I appreciate Mr. Harris who's stepping in on just totally forgot. Carpo for me. Usually I'm traveling. That's the only other good thing about the league is they're doing a lot of virtual as well, so that allows me to participate there. But again, Mr. Harris, your participation is not unnoticed, and again, stepping into that role is much appreciated, so thank you. With that, I'll turn it over to Mr. Wyatt for staff comments.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council. To echo a little bit of what you've all said, going back to the Trails and Treats event, we only had 3 vendors that did not follow through with their commitment. So we had over 50 that did show up and participate that day. Our trail is still quite muddy because of that event. I had promised Emily, according, Chief Watson and I both, according to Dark Sky app, it was not gonna rain, and we were truthful, but we failed to recognize it was gonna rain as much as it did and cause some of the mud. But honestly, 95% of the vendors that participated were ecstatic and were greatly excited to be here and loved the feedback that they got from the children and adults that was there. The Free News even made a couple articles in reference to some of the comments that was made, and we appreciate that very much. Several people stated best event ever of all the ones they had attended, and it was well laid out. And I really do appreciate all they did. And of course, Paul Bryant must have expected an enormous amount of trick-or-treaters, because he treated us all today and brought us some more. I know Jerry in particular is greatly appreciative.
I've already got a trash pile going.
But I've been over here joining him, so I'm not just going to single him out. But we appreciate several people had Halloween themed things that they brought by town hall. I didn't realize donuts could come in so many different flavors that the police shared with us. That was great, but we do appreciate that. The other thing I would like to say, in talking about Duke Power, a couple things after our visit down there. Our guy for this area is Randy, one of the speakers that we all enjoyed down there, and we had reached out to him, Adam Lippard and I, a couple times in trying to get, if you all pay attention to our greenway, some of the poles look like something happened. They're just not leaning straight. And a lot of people assume that's the town staff, and it's not. We pay rent for those poles and those lights, and we have asked Duke Power on a couple occasions to come and get those straight. But after speaking with Randy a couple times, he sent a manager for the district, and they have identified 14 poles that are not straight as they should be, and they will be getting those straight and better going forward. And we're appreciative that Kevin is going to take care of that for us on Duke Power's behalf, so that it does look straight. A few of them is almost 20 degrees out of kilter. It's not just a slight lean. It's pretty significant. Also in the park, in addition to the upgrades that Councilman Harris was talking about, and that goes back to a few years, as Paul Bryant can attest. We've talked about the trash cans, of course, not being there, and I'm glad that Emily got that project handled. And you would think sticking a big receptacle for trash in one place and fencing it in is a fairly simple job. It's not. It's got to be engineered. There's got to be layers of concrete, because when the truck's bouncing up and down, if you don't have the concrete there, then your asphalt gets washed out, and then you've got to come back in and re-asphalt the whole area. So it's not just as simple as, hey, go stick a trash can over there for a few $100. It's not. It was a several $1,000 project. But as you so eloquently stated, it was a very much needed aesthetic improvement, but more importantly, it got rid of, we hope it gets rid of a bee problem that we have had down there for some time because of the cans being where they were. In addition to that, back to Duke Power, the Rotary Club of Troutman was one of the sponsors for scoreboards, and we knew they were coming, but we didn't have electricity to get out there to the scoreboard. Emily has been working for a couple months and talking with the electrician that the town uses, Terry Watts, to try to get electricity out there, and all that project is now done. So in the area close to the volleyball courts, if you all see, there's a big green box. That's the power source base that Duke Power just installed last week. And again, that's not just as simple as go and drop a line, there's your power. That took some engineering, and that took some things to have happen. That had to be done, not just for the scoreboard, not just for the sprinkler system, but also the concession stand that we hope to have built out there as well. So it's one of those, which comes first, the chicken or the egg? In this case, we knew the power needed to come first. So we we did get it done and it is installed, so I'm appreciative of that being done.
Before you move on, a quick question for you. You said there were 14 poles. Are any of those the ones on State Park Road?
No, these are the town greenway.
Town Greenway, okay.
As far as the regular light poles, all of those are reported as is, and if you go down Wagner Street, some of those puppies are almost curled over at 40 degrees, and they don't seem to care.
So those 14
Because
are
we have
just
reported
just
those.
Wow. Okay.
These 14 that I'm talking about is just the little black poles with the street lights downtown
Okay.
on the
All right.
greenway.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Also, as you all was talking about South Iredell, and we're very proud of our community high school here and what they accomplish. But I was talking on the radio last week, and I don't know how we got on the topic of volleyball. I think it was the fact that playoffs were coming, and the South Iredell was the first team to win a state championship 3A level or higher in Iredell County. And I mentioned then that one of those that was on that team is now a professional volleyball player. Julia Scholes was her name, and she travels and plays volleyball professionally now after that career. But I would also like to send a shout out to our neighbors in North Iredell. North Iredell Raiders volleyball team won the state championship this past Saturday, so congratulations to the Raiders. They normally, when it comes to school sports, are one of the domineering teams. I honestly couldn't tell you if that's a 3A or 4A title, I don't know. I think it's 3A.
3A, I believe.
But they did win the state championship, and they have been to the show, as they say, several times, but something's always happened. But this time, they absolutely pulled it off, and congratulations to them. Also, as a couple of you all mentioned, McCoy's Tree Service has been here doing a lot of things. As I talked to many of you council members, whether I thought George enjoyed the rides in the golf cart, quite frankly, but we had to go some of these places. But as we've had to look at some of these projects, we have a lot of people, and I'm one of those. I would stop short of calling myself a tree hugger, but I absolutely believe in the value of having trees, and let's keep them if we can. So a couple of the things that I wanted to relay to council members as we've had meetings, had times to go and look, we have had to take trees down. And we haven't took any tree down just to take it down aesthetically. Every tree that has been removed out of necessity, and not just because, well, they're gonna put something there. A lot of these trees, just like at the planting house, for instance, we've had almost accidents because they couldn't see. But when we asked McCoy's to come and look at pruning canopies and trying to make that safer for people to leave the side street here to go on Eastway, we started looking at some of the trees, and several were diseased. Once they were cut down, several had huge holes on the inside to prove that they were indeed rotting as anticipated they were, and that's why they were removed. We've got one down across from Piedmont Health, the doctor's office there, Subway. It looks to be a perfectly great, healthy tree. As Councilman Harris can tell you, it looks great. The leaves on it are green until they're falling off, but once you drive up to the tree and you look at the trunk, you can look plumb through it and see the road on the other side to where it's already split. And that tree is one of those that's gonna have to be removed. We've got a couple that's on the greenway that disease or rot has already got to, and as they have been removed over the years, we're gonna have to remove a couple more so that whatever is got in there, whether it be mites or the other issues, and we're gonna try to save several canopies by pruning them and see what happens next spring if we can save those trees. But I stress, we haven't removed any just to remove. We've got, again, the Rotary Club in the town here has agreed to sponsor 2 trees that will go basically across from where the fire department is. There's a bench there. way back in the day when we planted these trees, it was a great idea, but as we now know, 15-ish, 18 years later, a lot of those trees, the canopy grows over into the sidewalk where we're having to prune them, and it makes the tree lopsided. So what we have learned from that is these next 2 trees that will be planted is to get a different species and to move them a little bit further back, still trying to get the shade. We will use a nursery from North Iredell, so we'll still try to keep it local. And these will be somewhere in the neighborhood of 2.5 to 3 inch diameter trees that will be planted. Town staff, as well as volunteers from the Rotary, will plant those most likely at the end of this month. If not, it'll be the 1st of December as to when that project's expected to complete. Also, for those that have not looked, just north of Food Line on the Greenway, there used to be a huge overgrowth of weeds and debris in those trees, and there was several trees in there that were starting to rot and or cause issues for other trees so that they could not be healthy. That area there we had cleaned up and cleaned out by McCoy's Tree Service. And to 2 of you all's points talking about aesthetics around town, we have had lots and lots of people come back and comment about that. Adam, myself, and Austin rode further north on the Greenway, the area around the fairgrounds, and just north. As the winter comes upon us, we've got more work to do there that we intend on accomplishing to continue our cleanup of the Greenway to make it safer and more friendly for those pedestrians that use the Greenway. The last thing I will say, to the mayor's point on economic value, he and I both at different times have attended, Mayor Pro Tem's comments, but the mayor and I both have attended various meetings with other he elected officials, myself, other managers, assistant managers, to where there's a lot of people in this state that's already hurting, and they would love to have our dilemmas or situations, if you will, when it comes to growth, and some are very excited in neighboring very close areas to us, as I think the mayor can attest, about what we are doing here in Troutman and how well it is received throughout governmental agencies throughout this area. The economic value that we have going on here is a positive to hold, and what we are seeing here is, I do personally feel like that we are in a recession nationally, even though it's not been announced. But because of where we're at and what we're doing, we're very fortunate in this town that a lot of people, to your point, Mayor Pro Tem, that still want to be here, and the investment, whether it be residential or commercial, a lot of these projects from the time that they go through the process to get approved, it's usually somewhere in the neighborhood of 2 years before the first shovel is turned, and goodness, if we look at Colonial Crossing, it can be 22 years before the shovel is turned. So just because a project gets approved does not mean that our world is going to change tomorrow, but we are growing positively in certain ways. And one person said this, and I would like to borrow their statement. When we are making decisions, when you all approve decisions as elected officials and as staff, we're going through these, the main thing we have to look at is the overall value of what we're offering. And we talked about some of these amenities today that have been approved, the services for our citizens and what they want. And then we get a lot of people on the outside telling us what to do and how to do. On the surface, we should say, hey, we need to be kind and listen to everyone. But the reality is, when we go on family vacations, we don't ask our neighbors where we should go and what vehicle we should take and how long we should go there because they live next door to us. They're not paying for our vacation. Therefore, their opinion on what we do on our vacation and how we do it really is just an opinion. But if you wanted to make it a little more close, it's like the amenities we have, our citizens are paying for those because they live in our town. And their voice truly does matter because they're paying for that bill. So if they decide we need to upgrade, instead of going to Myrtle Beach next year on vacation, let's try to go to Florida, then that voice does get a little bit more prominent because they're paying for the bill. But for somebody to tell us how we need to change our amenities or not change our amenities because they're using them for free really is kind of offensive. And some of that has been happening not in our meetings, but on social media a lot more lately. So I just wanted to leave that with you. That's my report unless you all have any questions, Mr. Mayor.
The kind of piggyback on what Felina said a while ago, the lights up here, I know we're waiting for Duke. Are they any closer to turning those lights on up here at the corner, Tally Street and 20 Main Street?
When we talked last week, I forget if it was Tuesday or Wednesday, there is a county permit approval process. DOT said that they are good. So between the county process and Duke, that's my understanding that's to hold up. And I thought they said it could be as early as this week. It might be 2 weeks, but I try not to put that time frame out previous because we know how that has come from DOT before. DOT will give the ultimate say, turn it on, but that's the timeline they said. They were good. They was waiting on Duke Power and the county to say okay.
So it's Duke and the county that are, I guess, trying to get their heads together before they could give the okay of the green light to the state or to the dock.
Yes, sir. And we're still being told, just to add to you all's inquiries previous, that another light at State Park in Perth should occur over the winter or by spring. That's not a town expense either.
This is probably not related, but somewhat related. There used to be a process when neighborhood lights were out. Is that still calling Duke Power or is it calling the town?
It's Duke Power. They can also call us, but Duke Power is the one that handles it.
Any other questions for Mr. Watt? Okay. All right, we will follow along our agenda. Next item is items for discussion, and we'll start with the presentation and consideration of a Girl Scouts pet pantry. Has Emily's name on here, but I don't see her.
She unfortunately, as Chief Watson can tell you, is dealing with a sick child. I have assisted her a little bit amount on this project. And at this time, we have two young ladies that are involved. Only one is able to be here with us this evening. But Layla Sudel is here, and Sophie Mayer is the other person. You got the presentation over there? You all should have these at your desk, but we also do have it on the screen. And before I'll let her do her presentation and then I will speak to you shortly thereafter. You ready, Layla?
Yeah. So, hello, as you said, my name is Layla and I'm here doing my Girl Scouts Bronze Award for a pet food bank. Hi, today we will be talking about our Bronze Award for Girl Scouts, which is a pet food bank / box. We would like to put it next to the blessing box. We are doing this because we don't want the pets in our community to be left out. Here are some colors that we think we could do. We could do blue and gold to match the blessing box, or green and brown. And you guys can pick which one you guys would rather have, more colors. We could do red, white, and blue also, and we would like to make it deeper so we can put more stuff in it than the blessing box. How we are going to stock the box. To keep and have it stocked, we will be asking stores to donate once a month. We know that we will probably be asking 20 to 25 stores before we will have enough donors. We will make sure that we will make a schedule for each store. If that doesn't work out, we will be asking my school, a church, and other clubs to get the community involved. If that doesn't work, if we still don't have enough, we will be doing fundraising. At least one of us drives past it every day we will be checking on it once a week. To build and keep up. To build the box. To get the supplies, we'll be asking a store to donate. The adults will be helping with some of the more dangerous stuff, and we will be doing easy stuff. We will be repairing the box if anything gets damaged or broken. Again, our parents will be helping with the more dangerous stuff. The bug problem. How are we going to stop the bug problem? We are going to have it closed tight and make a space underneath for ant traps. The side will be made of 3 layers, 1 plywood, 2 mesh, and 3 plywood again. Communication. We will stay in contact with Troutman City Hall while we are planning and building the box. On the box, we are going to have a QR code that the community can scan that will lead them to a Facebook page. The Facebook page is to allow the community to communicate with us about the box. My mom will be in full control of the Facebook page. This page is mainly for broken or damaged or donations. Thank you for your time.
I would just like to say, from the time these young ladies reached out to speak to the town about this, as you all know, we have had several scouts, boys or girls, come to you all before and or to staff before. And a lot of folks have grand ideas, but then by the time they either go through the process, it does not follow through or go through. There is a structured list based off of what council has said over the previous years of sustainability, longevity, that it serves some type of good for the community. And there are certain things that the scouts themselves require, that it has to meet certain goals. And also for the town's part, we don't want projects that somebody may put up and then we turn around and have to sustain them and or maintain them ourselves, unless it's something that we actually need or want to do at taxpayer expense. So once we met with these young ladies, we explained this in pretty direct and firm terms of what the expectations might be and would be. And as you all can see, from one meeting to the next, this is what Layla came back with and presented to us, and she answered all of our questions that we had. And not only did she answer them very well. That does not mean that this project is ready to go and here it is, signed, sealed, and delivered, but it certainly does mean that these young ladies are sincere about their project. What they would like to present to you all, as was presented, was very impressive to us as staff, and we hope to you all as council. But we're excited to recommend that you all allow them to proceed, and we have explained to them that it would be just because you all approve it. If you did approve it, that did not mean that's okay, and then they can build something and come and stick it up. They still have to work with staff to make sure that those parameters are met, and we would go forward. But we also explained that you all may have all kinds of questions, and we gave them a lot of homework to do, if you will, so maybe there would not be so many questions. And she pretty much answered everything that we gave her the possibilities of. That does not mean that if you all have questions, feel free. Layla, if you would stand up here, in between me and the attorney. You're always protected by an attorney, right? But they may have questions.
I have a quick question.
So for you, so Layla, thank you, number one, for coming and presenting to us. That was a very professional presentation, and so I wish some of the adults would follow your suit. And so again, we appreciate it. What school do you go to?
Iredell Charter.
Awesome. And you, what troop are you part of?
I'm a Juliet, so I'm the only one in my troop. So I don't have the abilities to do stuff with other girls, because I would rather, it's easier easier to do it by myself so I can do quicker work. And this
Okay.
was a lot easier without having to like transfer back and forth.
Awesome. Okay,
Thank
good.
you.
Other questions for Layla?
Wow. I train adults how to do what you did. I need you to come and train my adults. Good job. Layla, have you seen this done in other communities?
Well, we did Google some images, so I have seen it in a few up northern. I did used to live up north, so I think that might be why, but not really down here.
Do you think there is a problem in our community with pets? Have you seen it?
A little bit. I do see a lot of times there's a lot of people who have pets and I don't think they're just kind of running around scrounging for food a little bit. So I felt like I should do something so they don't get left out because I really like animals.
Other questions for Layla?
I have a question.
Yeah.
Honestly, it may actually be a question for the town manager. Could I just maybe get the elevator history lesson on the blessing box, how that came to be?
Sure. That came from my church, Rocky Mount United Methodist Church. And quite frankly, it was an hour and a half grilling session before council. When they came, it was a group of 16 that meet at the church, and they, similar to Layla, saw the idea that another community had a blessing box, and they wanted to do that. So when they came to present the idea, that really went left and right a whole lot worse than anything I would have ever imagined. But the concept was that there are people who you don't know in the community that may need assistance, and the idea of calling it a blessing box, if you need one, take one. If you don't, leave one. And it was just that simple. It was not meant to be religious. It was not meant to be anything other than kind to a neighbor. If you need a blessing, take it. If not, leave a blessing. Since that time, and it was agreed upon for the sustainability of that project, being as there were 16 adults, 8 couples, that basically was split up in an every 2-month cycle. One of the couple adults was responsible. As is with everything, some couples took that to extreme. They would buy $75 or $100 worth of groceries and fill that box up. Others would come by and look at it and say, hey, there's some stuff in there, and not spend no money at all. But what happened after that was some of the students at South Iredale with the Interact Club said, hey, we would like to adopt this project also. So they then got involved. It had its own Facebook little thing for a while of, hey, this is what's happening. There are some citizens, and I want to say it's about 8 or 9 months ago maybe, I was out there one day and saw a lady and a child. Child was probably 8 or 9 years old. And I said, hey, how are you all? Just speaking casually. And the little boy, as most youngsters at that age are, was, hey, I'm doing great. Who are you? and I told him who I was, and he said, so you work inside that building? I said, yes, I do. I said, are you checking this box out? He said, we're putting some stuff in there. I said, you are? He said, yeah. Last year, we had to take stuff out of there. I said, you did? And he said, yeah. And then his mom said, yeah, last year, and she gave her story, that they took stuff out of there for about 2 months as a necessity. And she was very proud of the fact of what she's accomplished in the meantime, and she wanted to show her son just what that box said. Need a blessing, take it. Have a blessing, give it. So that's the Cliff Note version of the blessing box and how it came to be. Town council did approve those colors that's on there. To this day, a couple of the ones that's still here, they might can tell you why. I don't. I had nothing to do with the council at the time. I just came as a friend of the church group and tried to assist them through the process. But I have no idea other than maybe they wanted to max out the Iredale colors as to why those colors were chose. But the location was chose by council. Safety factor, the idea of being on a camera, that would keep people, but we do see some, as some of the staff here can tell you, it is regularly used. and it is regularly deposited, back and forth.
Mhm.
It's not just those couples anymore.
Right, and I could see it, this project growing into something like that. So, one question, I have two questions for you. One, it's a little bit more difficult than the second one, right? So, well, maybe not, but, so, I'm not familiar with the Scouts, right? So do you do a project like this every year?
So how it works is the first 2 years is just kind of a warm up. Now I'm in my third, or well, how it is you do 2 years and that's one like version. So there's like 2 years as a daisy, then 2 years as a brownie. So it's 2 years for each like section kind of. So I'm in the third section. Now in the third section you do your bronze award, which is what this is. Now in the next section you do a silver and then a gold. So there's 3 different awards. So you do it every 2 years.
Every 2 years?
Yeah.
And it has to be a different project?
I don't really know, honestly. I was probably going to do a different project because I'm bored all the time, so I have something to keep me busy. But so
This is just,
a different project. Yeah, I don't really know if it has to be a different project.
Your mom is shaking her head yes.
Sort of. I think
Oh, I don't see you.
I'm still kind of learning too, because I'm not an official troop leader because she's a Juliet.
right.
So we're kind of learning as we go, so
Right,
I
yeah.
don't bite off as much as
Right, I just wouldn't want you to get this set up, get it looking nice, get it stocked, and then you're on to the next project,
Right.
right? So that's kind of to the point that what our town manager was saying, you know, but I don't really think that'll be too much of an issue. One, if you've got the initiative to do this, I think you've probably got the initiative to stick with it. And I think this is probably something that could grow into an even into a bigger project, you know, that, so she's not just starting from scratch every year or every 2 years or something like that. But I do like the idea. And so my second question is a lot easier. What colors do you want it to be?
Honestly, very bright colors, so probably not. I'm okay with honestly anything other than mustard. Anything other than that color. That is like my least favorite color.
So like the two that you put on here, right, were green and brown and red, white, and blue.
Yeah.
Are those your choices?
No, we had those because we knew that you guys approved some of those colors in the past, and they were kind of significant colors, like blue and gold. That was just the blessing box. But the red, white, and blue is America's colors, and then green and brown is Troutman Hall's colors, or city, town hall.
Playing to the crowd. Well done.
Mostly them, but.
Thank you.
Other questions? Now,
Yes, I think it's a great idea, and you're very professional and good at your presentation, so I wanted to thank you. But as a pet owner myself, I don't get a chance due to my hectic and busy lifestyle to get up to the Iriel County Humane Society or donate. With this being right here, it's a home run where I care very much about my pets, and I care about other people's pets too. So it's nice that instead of having to take a half an hour ride, 5 minutes, I can make a donation. It's really gonna count. And I just think taking care of our animals is something that's just a treasure, because they give so much back to us. But again, good luck and congratulations, and you did a great job presenting this.
Thank you.
other questions for Layla?
Well, if you hear from various shelters, why a lot of people turn their pets in, it's not that they're tired of them, but they just can't afford to keep them anymore. You know, some people are in straits, especially during the pandemic, business slowdowns coming up, this sort of thing, people hit a rough patch. And obviously the pets, unfortunately, are the first to suffer, one of the first to suffer. And something like this would allow people who love their pets, don't really want to give them up, but out of economic necessity have to. This would help them to navigate that problem and keep their pets and love them, and they'd be able. And then when they're, as the town manager said, in the case of the food for the humans, in the case of food for the pets, when the people or the pet owners are able once again have their feet on solid ground and are able, then they can give back and help keep the box stored. So, you know, I think it would allow, if nothing else, it would allow people who would like to keep their pets which obviously would be a big help in the pet situation and euthanasia and that sort of thing. So, yeah, I see this as a very big positive. I've read articles about it in other parts of the country, and I think it's a great idea. We think about people, and obviously, that's number one, but we can't forget about our pets, our animals. We have to, keep humanity about us, and taking care of our pets is certainly part of that humanity. So I think it's a great idea and a great project, and thank you for bringing it to us.
Thank you. I did have a quick question though. So since it is right next to the blessing box, which is human food, I was wondering if we could like put paw prints, or there's something significant that it is pet food and not human food.
I think that's a great idea.
Great idea. Also think that's probably why it needs to be different colors. We need to make them as different as possible.
Okay.
So, any other questions for Layla? I'm sure she doesn't want to get off the hot seat just yet. Great presentation again, thank you so much, and we will make a decision, and we'll let you know.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, council, any direction in terms of color? I know we had a couple of comments, but just to give her some idea what we're thinking before we approve it.
The only thing I thought of, and then kind of, we heard a good point about make sure that it's two different boxes, and two different types of that. We're looking for sustainability, just like with the blessing box down the road, a group from South Iredale did pick up that project, because at certain times they come up projects. If they kept the South Iredale color, it would be maybe another project later on, that one of the group at the high school, to say, as it goes forward, they might want to take on a piece of it, and it fits right in their colors. That'd be the only reason I would see the blue and gold. Just for sustainability, and I think that was probably why that color ended up not being here at that time.
Yeah.
The staff, we kind of like the green and brown to follow the town colors themes. And again, as you all said, to differentiate the two. Also, if you see the one picture that shows the side view, this will go along with Layla's point of putting paw prints and or picture of a cat for those that have the felines on both sides of the box that could go there and bite. If you went with the town colors of the green and brown, that certainly would be entirely different. And then with the dog paws and or cat picture, feline pictures, it would certainly show the difference in the two. But whatever colors you all decide, our only thinking is if we go with red and white and blue, which is certainly a good theory as far as the theme thought of America's colors, it just does not fit with any other product we have. Going back to what Councilman Harris says, I agree. South Iredale colors, I think is why the blessing box was there, and it certainly, with one of their student clubs adopting it, also makes it even more so. But staff kind of felt the green and brown would fit more of our colors with the rest of the property.
So let's do this. So at first, is there a motion to approve or deny this request?
I'll make that motion, Mr. Mayor.
Motion to approve?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Is there a second? Okay, motion made second. Any other question or comment, discussion?
I was just gonna make one, you're talking about, the picture of the dog or a cat. This picture, when she put that up on the big screen, really caught me. It caught my eye. I mean, it's great. And if they could come up with something like this to put, you can't mistake, that's gotta be for the animals, and it's, it really is, it's a heartstring thing. It really touched me emotionally. I love to see that, and something like this along these lines would be great, and as far as identification, as well as really getting people's attention.
So I would take it that you would still, and the staff would continue to work with Layla and, spell the young lady's name?
Sophie.
Sophie, to ensure that it's, installed properly and all that sort of thing.
Yes, sir. And speaking of that, just so you all know, basically the box would be the same rectangle shape is the one that we have. It would just be a little bit deeper than the food bank box that we have, just to accommodate bags of food like pet food comes in, and or the cans to hold a little bit more. And us talking with them, that would be the only thing different, is to make it a little bit deeper. But as far as the face of it, same height, same width, all of that part, same, everything will be the same. As we explained, it has to be off the ground a certain amount just to keep the pest. I thought that was way cool that she had that little pest thing on her presentation. And that part keeps, but that was thought out and discussed, not only by staff, but also by Layla.
Good. Any other question or comment? It still sounds like you all probably should have invited her to help when you came up with the blessing box. Yeah, I'm just saying.
I don't disagree. I don't think it took an hour and a half.
Yeah.
But we are going to use her when we design the town hall.
Yeah. So, no other comments or questions, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing none, motion passes. Again, thank you, Layla, and I look forward to seeing our pet pantry out here. And again, we appreciate your support of the community and looking out for our pets in our community. So thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you, Mom and Dad. So appreciate it. So with that, still, you've had about a minute and a half to think about color. Can we agree on the color?
I'm fine with it. I'm colorblind anyhow, so green and brown anyhow.
Make it bright colors like later on.
I was just thinking of sustainability, but the town feels like that's, I didn't know we had official colors, right?
I wouldn't have any issue with the, granted, I just learned tonight that green and brown are our town colors.
Yeah, I didn't know that either.
Or if we want to stick with the same theme with South, maybe just flip-flop them.
So this yellow.
So that they're clearly they're the same color, but you know, yeah, so where the blessing blocks has the golden legs, we do blue where you have gold, gold where you have blue, or purple, whichever.
Not an option.
I don't, you know, the green and brown, I mean, that's, you know, there's concern, you know, as Lady stated, that, you know, people know, obviously, that we've got two boxes, one for humans, one for our pets, and, you know, having a distinct color difference, green and brown being town colors. You know, we've got the gold and blue already, so our gold was what was gold and blue already. So, you know, along with the pictures, you know, you'd have to be more than colorblind not to make the difference there. So, you know, I would go along with George's suggestion of or town manager's suggestion of the town colors, green and brown.
When can we vote on the town colors?
When
So,
all this stuff got put up through town.
yeah. I heard South Iredell color alternating and green and brown.
Green and brown for me.
Okay. So,
Green and brown is fine.
okay.
Green and brown.
All right.
What do you need me for?
I heard you could go either way, so.
Yeah, I'm good.
All right, so, green and brown is, I don't think we need a vote on it, but if we can do it in green and brown, that'd be great. Okay, good deal. Thank you again.
Do you know what specific green and
Bright green.
It's
Hour and a half, here we come.
Hour and a half?
I would say again, great question, and thank you so much for asking. So, for Mr. White.
Thank you all very much.
Good job.
Thank you.
Plus it matches her colors.
Well, when I first saw it, I didn't think of town colors. I
I
thought
thought
the
the Girl Scout colors, yeah.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, young lady. Thank you.
Yeah, that was pretty good. Next item on the agenda is the introduction of Board of Adjustment applicants. Ms. Tabor and Ms. Sells. So why?
Unfortunately, both folks are unable to join us this evening. Saturday, they had a death in the immediate family. that they both are related to, and they were unable to join us this afternoon. And it was too late for us to make you all aware. They had a meeting at the funeral home that started at the same time as our town meeting. And they asked that you all please consider the facts, otherwise they both would have been here to meet and discuss with you.
So, council, do you want to go ahead and, you want to consider them without them being here, or do you want to ask them to still come back next month?
But
I was reviewing their applications, and I see both of them put our town manager, Mr. Wyatt's name as a recommendation. Maybe he could just tell us a little bit about them, so we don't really have to make them come back.
Or do you want them to attend Thursday night?
They won't be here Thursday with the death and
No,
their immediate
okay.
family.
I mean, a recommendation from our town manager is a pretty strong statement, I feel. So if maybe Ron could just tell us a little bit about these individuals. I mean,
Mr. Tabor, known about 25 years. I couldn't tell you what state he's originally from, I don't recall. But he did live in the Mooresville area for a long time. He has lived just off of Perth Road for approximately 12 years or so. He used to work in law enforcement, and he's worked at Freightliner for about 12 years since he moved to the Perth Road area, just below State Park Road is the area that he lives in. Natasha is his daughter. She is, if I tried to tell you specifically what her profession is, I would butcher it up, but basically it is one of those bio-type nurses that deals with cancer patients on a higher degree. She's been doing that job for about 2 years. She lives off of Pine State Road, but is in the county. Both of them would be considered ETJ appointments to that board. One is a vacancy, if I understand our vacancy there correctly. The other one would be an alternate. Her work schedule, if she knows ahead of time, she can request off. But when they both was asked, what do you prefer, when we discussed last month the meeting schedules, both, as my understanding, said, hey, if it's after 5 o'clock, it would certainly be best, but if we need to be there prior, we could schedule if need be. But both of them are invested in our community area and definitely have visions of what they think is best for the town, and have been actively involved in several projects on a humanitarian side.
well, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Other questions?
I'm kind of like Dave, we need these people in here and get this board filled up versus trying to combine them. I think it's a good opportunity to read your information. I've been involved in a lot of different things around the town, and I feel good about going ahead and appointing.
All right, nothing else, then we'll move on down to our audit.
Justin has not produced us an audit just yet. He's got reasons for it.
Emily Singletary was the lady who came out for field work, and she's in charge on our audit. They're not waiting on anything from us. They're just still, working on what they have to do and writing up the report. So their goal and hope, and my hope, is that it will be done by December 1st. And I'm still waiting to hear back from the partner if he could be here. Checking my email now, I haven't got one yet, but if he could be here for the December board meeting to present, that would be ideal. But if not, he will be here in January to present our audit.
One of the things to explain, and As simply and straightforward as I can say this, and I don't mean it to be in a negative way by any means. But as we discussed last year, and that's one of the fields that Justin came back, we hired Justin from, is doing audits and doing things at other places. But it is customary, even though it's not required, it is customary that most places use an audit firm only 2 years, worst case scenario, 3 years before they go to somewhere else, because it helps them document the process and the need to keep things flowing in a different way. So we had a change of staff, and this is the first time in 6 years, I think, that we've had a change in auditing firms. As you all know, last year was the perfect storm of COVID, personnel excuses, and everything we had, and it was the only subpar performance year we had from the auditing firm, but it just proved the need that we also should have already been changed, so to speak. And them going in and seeing our updated practices and methods of trying to be more modern with the way that we are doing things, the simple bottom line is the numbers are going to be what the numbers are. But putting methods and practices in place is what you all expect of staff, and most importantly, it's what the citizens expect of us all. There are 2 towns in North Carolina right now that are in severe disarray because the state treasurer had to step in and said, no, you don't. One of them, he pulled their charter, and they no longer ceased to exist as a town. The other one, they failed after years to have the basic accounting procedures in place, and we're not even doing annual audits. So on one hand, it may sound like, here's an excuse, what are they doing? On the other hand, as Justin can tell you from the auditing firm that we've never done business with, most towns our size do not have practices and policies in place that this town has been following for some time. And I mean for years. So even though we all want to continue growing in a positive way and making things even more better as we can, we certainly are on track. It has taken an adjustment period for a new auditing firm to then transfer our material to their methods to be able to come out. Ideally, we wanted an audit report in November, but we're certainly on track to have it done by our statutory requirements. Anything you want to add to that? Or emphasize?
Yeah, just one more thing. Glad you brought that up. They kind of inherited a mess, just from, not on our numbers side, but when you're a new auditing firm, you've got to import all of the town or cities or counties, whatever, information into their system. So that takes time in itself. Plus, when we had our audit from fiscal year 21, only finished in mid-April, that puts you behind as well. So they're doing a very good job, in my opinion, and they're doing a thorough job so far. So I've got nothing but good things to say about them up to this point. But, again, it just takes time. And honestly, there's fewer and fewer firms each year because the state keeps mandating more and more statutes on these auditing firms. So because there's not as many auditing firms to do the audits, everybody's required to have an audit. So you're getting the firms that do them more and more. So, there's only so much that they can do at once as well. So, but yeah.
Question, in regard to what you said, Mr. Manager, it's a recommendation from our finance officer and town manager that every 2 to 3 years we switch auditors, even though perhaps the auditor's doing a good job, that we switch every 2 to 3 years for whatever reason, or that we...
The general practice, just to keep ensuring that you don't have internal problems,
Right.
is to switch every 3 years. It's not a statutory requirement.
Right.
It's just an industry recommendation. Is that the best way of saying it?
Yes, and in a perfect world, that would be the best way to do it, is switch every 3 years, but as these firms keep falling out from doing them, it'd be harder and harder to do, but,
Right.
you know, you've got places that do an audit, they've been doing it for 20 years, but that's not, in my opinion, the best way to do it, but.
And what is our statutory requirement as far as having the audit completed and presented to the council? You made comment statutory time limit, is it 6 months after the end of the fiscal year?
No, the soft date's always been October 31st, but that's just a soft date.
Right.
The harder date is November 30th, December 1st. But even, you're talking slap on the wrist.
Right.
Even if you're late after that, which I hope we're not, but if we are, there's no real penalty there, but,
What's the penalty if it takes until, say, April?
nothing. A nasty letter from the state
That was
saying
last year.
you're late.
Well,
Yeah.
but also for our bonds and our ability, if we go and borrow money,
Right.
you don't wanna be in that situation.
Right.
Right.
So this is an issue that the league is also taking up.
Yes,
Just the fact that there are fewer and fewer of these firms, and the time issue that a new firm has to have. And so just FYI that the league will be presenting to the legislature in the next session some options, alternatives to working with the state treasurer on, you know, how this can occur. So I think, at least on the last league call, there was 2 other municipalities that were kind of in the same situation we're in. Lost their last firm and trying to make that transition. Didn't want to, you know, have the state, you know, whether it's a soft letter or more, you know, hard letter. But there wasn't a whole lot of process around that. So I think the league is going to try to represent municipalities like ours who are in that limbo. So.
Is a purpose to, I'm sorry if I missed something, but are you saying perhaps to legislation to kind of ease up so that more accounting firms would be wanting to get back into the service, or?
Well, I think it's twofold. One is that the state will create a list of options for that municipality and be able to say, hey, these firms are firms that are approved. We want you to, you know, if there's an issue with you losing that firm, your prior firm, we've got somebody that can quickly step in. Or it is, okay, hey, we know you've lost your firm. You know, we're not gonna send you any, you know, nasty grams until, you know, we know that you're moving in the right direction.
especially when there's certain municipalities, to add to what the mayor's saying, that we were able to document the town did nothing wrong at all. And our last firm delivered it 7 months late. That was entirely on them. We had everything to them on time and upfront. It was them and all the myriad of excuses they gave as to why it took 7 months.
Well, my feeling has always been, you know, is the report itself, you know, and how we did it. Things that fall back on the accounting firm is their problem. So, you know, I hate we were a little late, but again, as you pointed out, there's nothing the town did wrong. We got a good report, as we have in the past, we continue to have. So, you know, for me, that's the most important thing that I dwell on. The other is kind of a nuisance type thing or problem to try and, you know, keep up, follow the laws, get the firms that are left out there to come in and do the job on time. But at the end of the day, it's the report that they issue of how we have done as a town, and that's, you know, been very good. And, you know, so this other I'm interested in, but I don't lose sleep on it, if you understand where I'm coming from.
Okay. All right, thank you. Look forward to next month. We hope. Maybe.
Hope so. I'll let y'all know as soon as I find out.
All right. Next item is a review of our November 10th meeting. Mr. White?
Mr. Mayor, excuse me, just a question. Those two Board of Adjustment members that we were gonna approve, are we gonna do that Thursday or we're gonna do Thursday? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. For Thursday, the agenda, general business, under 2A, B is staff items, items for discussion. I'm sorry, I'm wrong.
I was right there with you. I'm like, oh yeah, we're humming.
I'm like, why do I have these big yellow marks on my agenda? And Kim was getting ready to whack me. Did you all see that? She done got the hand up this high. Consent agenda is the first thing under item 2. Annexation request of Michael Berner and Calvary Fellowship of Huntersville. That's the church in Barium. The mayor, pro tem, did call and point out there was a discrepancy, email, and point out there was a discrepancy. Kim, or you or Lynn going to explain that?
I'd be happy to. The information in your packet is correct. It's the one parcel, it's not two. They did submit an incorrect application that was just in the file, so that's where that was picked up on the agenda. But the packet information that was given to you is correct, and it's parcel 6214, and it's just the let's see, 6214 is the parcel number, and it's 8 acres. It's about 8.3, I believe.
I noticed there were
8.34.
two parcel numbers at one time in one, and I wondered if that's the reason it
They,
went from
they
16 to 8.
submitted a application back in September, and so I make notes when it wasn't submitted in October. I pulled it over to my agenda notes for November and had all this on it, and then they dropped the one parcel or something when they came back.
I think we were working with them to clarify the information, and so that's what happened. They had submitted this,
Yeah.
and we had put it in the file, and then they responded to our request for more accurate information, and so this was just left in the file. So I apologize for that.
That's part of my fault too. It's kind of like a team effort. So it'll be corrected on the final agenda going out tomorrow.
This will be for setting a public hearing date on December 8th. Number 4, facade building improvements for Kirkman Medical Building. 5, approval of facade building elevations for Westmoreland Village Amenity Center. Both of those, the Design Review Board recommended approval. If you all have any questions, I'll be glad to address, and Lynn is also here, depending on your questions for 4 and 5. Number 6, approval of accounting and faithful performance bond increase per Senate Bill 265. That's a statutory requirement. We really don't have much option in that if we want to be compliant. And that also goes back to auditing procedures and protection of town funds. But I'll be glad to answer any questions if you all have any on that. Number 3, public comment period. Number 4, old business. Annexation request, Dorothy Collins property, Perth Road. 8 would be rezoning of Dorothy Collins property, Perth Road. Excuse me. Number 9, consider accessory structure facade for detailed image collision and customs. They have been by DRB, and DRB approved things there. This was one of those perfect storm scenarios, I guess you could say, and that I do think the applicant reached out to the town and asked about moving those accessory structures, and the interim contracted planner at the time said absolutely you can, and this individual took it that he could just put them up, not realizing that he needed to follow a process or procedure that's required by the town. Once Lynn and I arrived as town employees, I first, of course, and started to say, hey, this is not right. He went back to, no, the old planner's already approved it. So it went through the design review board. They did approve the setback restriction. Is that not correct?
The Board of Adjustments did, yes.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I said design review. I apologize, it was the Board of
Okay.
Adjustments, BOA. But they did approve the setback, which the neighboring property, who has always been supportive of that, which goes back to a discussion Lynn and I had with him, I
Christmas
think
Eve.
January of last year.
I think it was Christmas Eve.
Yeah,
Or
you're
23rd,
right.
it was right before Christmas
That
Eve.
we told him last year, get that in writing and come. So, but if you all have any questions, I'll be glad to ask or answer on that one. We have new business request number 10, rezoning request, North Fork Business Park there. That one, just so you all know, is not an error on our behalf. We did make sure this is a rezoning request here. That is not an annexation request as of yet. If, by chance, just so you all know, you choose to proceed with the rezoning, that's good, but they still can't do anything until they come back and annex in. And normally, one follows the other, but in this particular case, the application for the annexation is not attached, nor will it be considered that evening. But if it's approved for the rezoning, they still will have to come back for the annexation. So we did not leave it off in error. Number 11, annexation of Shin Farms, property, 149 acres. They would like to defer to December's council meeting. In that one, at the beginning of the meeting, just like last month, I will most likely make a recommendation to you all that we remove item 11 from the agenda, unless you all tell me not, as we have enough notice that we could. Number 12, economic incentive for Iredell Economic Development for Collett Industrial. We're getting ready to go in closed session here shortly to discuss that more in depth. Item 13, Troutman, Town of Troutman future land use map and definitions. To hold a public hearing for it and consider approval of the updated future land use plan and revised land use plan definitions. A couple of you all have talked to me individually. This has been a project that the committees, and I think chaired by Paul Bryant, have been working on. I attended the very first meeting, have not been to any others for obvious reasons, so that nobody could accuse staff of impacting or affecting what decisions were made there. There has been numerous community meetings. There has been requests sent out for public input. Several council members have participated at various times during these meetings, but a couple also felt like, even though all of that has been done, the final product has not been put out for display, and they would have asked, is it appropriate for you all to say, hey, now that we have this final product, can we put it out through media, town website? Here it is, and it's already on the town website, correct?
It is.
And has been for almost a month.
Yes.
But still keep it out there and point people to that and say, hey, instead of you all actually voting on it this Thursday, is to give it another 30 days or 60 days, your option, to say one more time, just before it's voted on and approved, even after the public hearing, is to, hey, this is where we all want to go. The committee has done an outstanding job in trying to consider everybody's wants, desires, and needs for the future of our town, and I appreciate their efforts very much. I do not see the urgency that it has to be voted on Thursday, and if any of you would like to continue it 30 days, then that would be totally up to you, your choice.
Yeah, interject, I was not one of the ones that talked to you, but I'll be honest with you, when we were talking about schedule back in spring, I wondered, we had a pretty concise schedule on, getting the ball rolling on this, getting committee forum, discussions and outreach, and then, presenting to the board and, us making a decision on it. And I wondered then if maybe we couldn't at the end, put it out there and, give 30 to 60 days for the public to digest, have their say, and then have a comprehensive, well thought out, hopefully, among all council members as well as citizens and community members, look at it and participate in the public hearing, so that what we do pass will be something that we will rely on, very much so in the future. That's been the biggest complaint about the 2018 strategic plan, land use plan, was that we've kind of butchered it in the past 4 years, and I can't really, we've done it for good reason in most cases, all cases, in our opinion, but this is one that I'd like for us to pass that, we can maybe adhere to a little bit more carefully this time, over the next 4 or 5 years than we have over the past 4 years. So having said all of that, I would like to see us, it be presented, all these things done and that have not already been done, be done. Give the community time to think about it, and either in December or January, either one, 30 or 60 days, then we have a public hearing at that time, and then we vote on it. So no one can say this thing was slipped through very quickly. What are you gonna do, and then have another 4 years of the past 4 years again, because I plan whatever is to adhere to it quite, and again, like I say, I don't regret anything we've done other than, asking the people back in 2018 to work hard on something that we haven't necessarily followed, to the letter. So this time around, I would like for us to be able to do that more so now, knowing that, again, it's still, a plan, it's still an advisory thing to us. Nothing's in brick, but again, I'd like for us to maybe adhere to it a little bit better. So that's why I'm saying or suggesting whatever the majority would like to say, either 30 or 60 days, then have the public hearing, and then we make our decision.
So, Ms. White, you're asking for us to go ahead and hold a public hearing, not close the public hearing, and allow some continued review. I would offer maybe January, unless you think that that's a heavy month for an agenda conversation.
Exactly, Mr. Mayor. Open the public hearing and then postpone it till such date. I think January would be fine, if that's you all's desire, and then resume the public hearing at that time and then take a vote. Yes, sir.
Anybody object to that before we get?
Not supposed to object to that. The only thing I was thinking of is that I don't want to see, as we're going into these, once we're looking at this month and next month, or, well, we know we're making a change, but we're still following the old one because they submitted them beforehand, do we slow down some of submitting these new plans to the old land use map, so that we don't end up with another 10 that goes to the old map, but even though we've already passed, when we finally passed the other one.
I'm not familiar with anything that's coming before the board between now and January that does not fit the new plan unless changed. Are you?
Right now, things are really, we've worked through the 15 applications we got last spring. And right now, I don't expect anything to come in, but that can change in a minute. We talk to people every day, but there's not a bunch in the queue that we're gonna be reviewing in the next couple months.
Yeah, I just didn't want to say,
Yeah.
well,
Yeah, I
we wait till the
appreciate
end, all of a
that.
sudden, somebody we got a big load of them show up, and this next month, it says, well, okay, but we were in on the old land use map, so therefore we can't use the new one, and then it looks like we're not following the new one.
And unless it's already on our agendas,
Yeah.
we certainly as staff have control of our agenda.
Yeah.
So,
And that was my only things, I didn't want to make it look like, well, we didn't follow it again, it's because they dump a bunch of them in, once they apply, they say, oh, well, they follow the old one, and that's not.
And I agree with you, Manager.
I agree with you.
Who's saying we didn't follow I mean, it's a guide, it's just a plan. Who's saying that we didn't follow the 218 one?
Well, I'm just saying
I mean,
that-
who's saying this?
Oh, a lot of
A
people.
lot of people.
Well, a lot of people, but a lot of people that aren't town residents.
True.
So, it's a guide and it's a plan, and I'm not opposed to delaying it, okay, but I don't think that we did anything wrong, okay, as this council for the last 4 years.
Well, no, and I made that clear. I'm
Yeah,
not
I'm
ashamed of anything.
I'm just
I'm
saying
not
that
backing,
it's just
backtracking.
one little other argument we don't have to deal with.
Yeah,
I'm just-
It's a guide, it's a plan, it's
Right,
not,
right,
it's not brick and mortar.
right,
We can differentiate right or left
Yeah,
or
yeah.
center from the land use map.
but I'm just saying, you know, again, and again.
And I don't
say
feel
I'm
that
not-
we did anything
No,
wrong.
I'm not saying it, I'm just saying that, again, it's something that, you know, when we look at, we adhere to more than what we have done in the past because we felt and seen good reasons to deviate. And this time around, I'd like to, you know, stick to it more so. But again, and I said that, I'm not backtracking or admitting.
And 23 is gonna only be a plan and a guide
Yeah,
also.
exactly.
And my only example is that, okay, we got the one that's coming up this month. The old, they were actually changed in the new map, and so if you look at the new map coming out, the one is in now the special lake area, use area, and then the other one is it's in rural agriculture right now, that we're changing it to light industrial. So both of those that are coming up have had, they're coming to the old, I'm just saying it'd be better,
I'm
we
just
don't have a
going a
lot
little
of them
bit
come in at
about,
the same time and.
I don't think we did anything.
No, we didn't,
Or
we
we
just,
didn't follow it.
we just.
Well,
Well, right, I mean, yeah, and that's why I said what I said, and I
We
don't
can
think we did
discuss
anything
it
wrong.
again, as we open it up. for
Can I
public
ask a
hearing.
question?
Yes, please.
It's on topic.
Okay.
All right. So the delaying it, the 30 to 60 days, either December to January, just so I'm clear, is that to leave open more time to make changes? Or is this just to say, hey, look, here it is before we vote on it?
That's up to you all.
I think it's giving more time for the public, to take a look at it, at the public hearing, you know, speak more intelligently to it than if we try and maybe rush, I say rush it, we try and move it through a little bit quicker. And for us to also consider.
Sure, and I
Same moment.
understand that. But I was involved in the process.
Mhm.
To be completely honest, I thought we had too many community meetings by the time, you know, when I look back, you know, on, oh, how did it go? And like, oh, did we miss an opportunity to do this? Or, you know, what can we improve on? Like, maybe not so many community meetings. That was my take, because it kind of got to the point that we didn't really get the attendance that we were wanting or expecting. And so, I mean, so I see both sides, but like, I just don't, I don't want to say, oh, well, here, we're actually, in this next 60 days, we're going to set the clock back 6 months. And if anybody wants to come in and mark it up, come in and mark it up. I don't think that's
This
a
is
good
presenting
idea.
the finished product. The community meetings, things are still in flux. This is not in flux. This is the proposed plan. People can look at it and say, you know, is this what we planned? This is what the council passes? This is no longer in flux. This is the plan. This is the guide. And that's why I'm saying here, community meetings are fine. They give guidance to the committee in this case. But here, we're saying this is what the committee came up with. This is the final plan. This is what the council's going to be considering, assuming they don't change it. This will give the public time to say, well, you know, yes, we were at the community meeting, but this final plan, you know, I suggest this, or I agree with this. You know, if there's no rush to it, then why 30 or 60 days? I mean, I said 30 or 60. You know, if you want to make it December, that's fine. I'm not going to sit here, but 30 or 60 days, I don't see that that's putting any undue strain on the plan or anything. And if someone would come up with all of a sudden a handful of proposals, you know, I'm going to see through that, and I'm not going to be as inclined to, you know, agree if someone is trying to do something and take advantage of the process like that, knowing we've got something that's just almost about, you know, I would certainly question it and want to have a serious discussion if some developer were to try and do that. Because again, you know, they're aware, all should be aware that we do have something in the works that we're possibly going to be changing our current UDO, our land use plan. And again, if they try to take advantage of it, you know, I'd be very suspicious of that. So again, that's why I say 30, and generally, wintertime is kind of the slow time of the year anyhow, traditionally. And so December or January, you know, what's the harm?
Let me ask
What's
this
the harm?
question so we can move this along. Mr. Bryant, in chairing that committee, being part of that committee as well, do you see any issue with January or December?
Well, I think that's the discretion of the council,
No, but
committee.
my question is really more, do you see an issue in terms of the miss that, as Mr. Oxer mentioned, that we didn't cover an area of the community to at least hear from them about the plan.
The invitation to the entire community, both inside town limits as well as ETJ and surrounding community, was broadly advertised and available to anyone that cared to come and make their voices heard. And a number of community members did in fact weigh in, and their comments and their recommendations were taken into account and made a part of the plan over the, 7-month period that the committee met on a monthly basis, and at least 3, if not 4, community meetings. If council feels that another 30 days to take the plan as it currently exists and put it out there and solicit additional input might make it a more meaningful plan, then the committee bows to council's will.
Thank you. So part of my rationale for going in January was more of agenda related, not so much of communicating it. Doesn't sound like there's a need to overly communicate this because it's been communicated to the community. So again, sounds like you and the committee have done a great job of bringing in that input.
Not me.
So again, I don't know what the December agenda looks like, but would it be better in January or December to put it on there for a full discussion?
I'm
sorry, was it?
Go ahead.
Just another option you would have would be to have public hearing Thursday night, and people that are here can speak, and then you continue the hearing till, say, December, and you probably won't have as many people speak.
I think that's what we were hoping to do.
I thought you were gonna open it and then move it.
Yeah. No.
Okay.
Yeah, we'd open it and then we.
The only thing
Continue.
I will say, and I don't remember the date for December, I want to say it's December 8th is our meeting time in December, and then in January, it would be January 12th. If those dates matter to people, what the dates are, we had Martin Luther King Day on the 16th. Under staff comments, I was going to talk, our intent with you all's permission is to have a celebration on the 13th, which is the best day of the whole year, by the way, other than Marine Corps birthday. But those 2 days are prominent for everybody to remember.
So, January or December, which one do you wanna move it, to?
I'd say December.
Okay. Got January, December.
I'd say December.
Okay.
December?
December you want? Okay, all right. We'll do December. All right. So we'll open it up, we'll, have any comment, and then, we'll continue it until, the December meeting.
Mr. Mayor, will we actually hold a public hearing and then continue it into December?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And then 14 is consider the recommendations to Iredell County Commissioner for the appointment of the 2 ETJ persons we spoke of earlier. And that's it.
Are they both alternates, or is it one seated, one alternate? It seems like
One is seated and one is an alternate.
oh, okay.
It just says,
Okay, yeah.
alternate members on here, so it's one.
She does have alternate members. He's right.
I think it is both alternates.
You think they're
Well,
both
I
alternate?
think they are, I'll double check it, but I think they're
We'll
both are
confirm it
alternate
and have it ready
positions.
for the appropriate
Okay, yeah.
agenda.
Cause you were an alternate, right? We had a vacant alternate
No,
and
he
then,
became voting.
No, I was an alternate that
Always
always voted.
voted.
No,
so we had a
So this
vacant
is really
alternate.
your issue.
I know it is,
And then
yes.
your position came
Thank you,
vacant,
Ms.
so I'm
Umbridge.
pretty sure
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
2 vacant.
No, I appreciate that.
But I was in town, so.
Yeah, you were in town. Yeah, you were in ETJ.
Yeah.
just remember seeing both, so I wasn't sure which one.
Yeah, neither was I. Sounds good. If there's nothing else on the general business, I'll accept the motion pursuant to General Statute 143-318-11A for economic development to go into closed session. Is there a motion?
I'll make that motion to go into closed session.
Is there a second? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing none. Who do we need?
Mr. Clerk, Secretary,